Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Today I am here, the one and only founder of Swave, Aaron Ajani. I appreciate you coming on.
For sure. No, thank you for having me. I always loved fashion, right? I always loved dressing up, trying on different type of fits and stuff like that. I was actually in school for kinesiology. Well, I was going for kinesiology. Last second, I changed my mind. I'm like, nah, I'm not doing this anymore. I realized in that moment that I was choosing something that people around me were doing. You know, I don't like to be caught up in a crowd. And that's really the whole idea with Swave. Self-esteem with a vast elegance is what Swave stands for. Being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Fun fact, this wasn't even supposed to be my first piece. When I have a vision and my foot's on the gas, all I need is your trust. Everything else will fall into play. I'm surrounded by a lot of brand owners. We all know what it's like. As much as I want you to be real with me and what I'm making, I will tell you the truth about how I feel with your stuff. I took a lot of crazy risk. I won't lie. Paying a whole sample before paying bills. I know I want this and this is how it's gonna go. First runway show being in Montreal, not even in my own city, I realized that my brand is more known over there than here. Me being born and raised in Toronto, there's so many brands that are nice as hell out here. There's so much potential in this city. Even the jorts, I gave a sneak peek of the jorts. Appreciate you. That one was personal, I won't lie. There's a whole story behind that. Be a good person. Not even just to these creative people you want to work with, but to the community. Don't be afraid to take that step. If you have a dream, if you have a goal in mind, chase it. Never let anyone tell you that you can't do something.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the VoV podcast, Voices of Vic. Today I am here with the one and only founder of Swave Streetwear brand, Aaron Ajani. I appreciate you coming on.
For sure. No, thank you for having me, bro. I'm proud of you. Like, this whole thing, this is crazy.
It's been awesome. It's been awesome. I want to start out by talking about the origin story of this brand. You just told me before we were recording that it started in August of 2023, but your interest in fashion had to have begun before that, stemmed before that. So kind of walk us through the beginning of how Swave came to be. What were the ups and downs before it even started as a brand?
Ooh, that's a good question.
We got plenty of time, by the way. Don't worry.
You see, like, I always loved fashion, right? I always loved dressing up and, you know, trying on different type of fits and stuff like that. But in the beginning, this whole thing wasn't even like, I was actually in school for kinesiology. Well, I was going for kinesiology at York University. And then literally after I got accepted and everything, last second, I changed my mind. I'm like, nah, I'm not doing this anymore. You know, my parents were like, you know, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? And I realized in that moment that I was choosing something that people around me were doing and not what I wanted to do.
Yep.
Right? So then from that point on, I'm like, exploring, because I knew I wanted to work for myself in the end. That was really my end goal, but not in that field. So I was like, what do I really enjoy doing? And, you know, as I'm scrolling through social media every day, I'm just seeing a bunch of fashion content, right? So it's like, I'm looking for something that's related to fashion. So it's like, now I was trying to look for a school that had a good program in that field. And at the time, the one I found was Seneca College at Newnham campus.
Yep.
Now, the program that they had was called Fashion Business Management, and that's the one I went for at the time, right? And while I was taking that course, like, everything was cool. It was COVID time, so, like, you know, things were different.
Yep.
But I just felt like what we were doing in that course, it doesn't fully relate to what I'm doing right now. Like, you know, fashion business management is more so for people who want to, like, have a whole spot to open up in person. And, you know, have a whole store and stuff like that. That's not what I'm doing right now.
100%.
It's just online shopping. So I realized, like, I think after my second year that I wasn't in the right spot.
Yeah.
So I dropped out.
Yeah.
And after that, you know, spending money on school and, like, residence, campus, all of that stuff. Like, I was like, why am I spending money on something that I don't enjoy doing?
Yeah.
And, you know, time is ticking. You know, I hate feeling like I'm wasting my time. So I was like, I might as well just start the business now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, on one side, I had my dad telling me, finish school first and then do the business.
Yep.
But I was like, why can't I just start now? Even if I do go back to school, I can still have the business running and do school at the same time. Because I was surrounded by people who, you know, had businesses and were in school at the same time. So I'm like, why can't I do that? Right? So then, I just started a business, but I also realized that a lot of clothing brand owners didn't even go to college or university. So I'm like, what if this actually blows and I don't need to go back.
Yeah.
Right? So then I start the brand. Fun fact, this wasn't even supposed to be my first piece.
Really?
Yeah. Like the way it all started, one thing I realized about Toronto, they love tracksuits.
Yeah.
Right? They love tracksuits,
Yeah.
like hoodies, sweatpants, baggy pants, all of that.
Yeah.
So I was like, I kept trying to do like, you know, different type of things, and I just wasn't satisfied with what I was making. I'm like, this looks too basic.
Yeah.
I don't want to look like, you know, some basic
Yep.
brand, you know, just boring, whack. You know, I want something that's, when you see it, you're like, I need that in my closet. You know what
100%.
I mean? So, yeah, I put that to the side, and I kept getting mad at myself because I'm like, you're not trying hard enough. You're not trying. And so this one day after work, something told me, like I saw something on my Instagram, and as I was scrolling, I'm like, no, I need to get to work. So then after work, I start designing, like spent hours. I didn't even sleep. And that night was when I made this piece, right? Now I'm looking at it and I'm like, is this really hard? Like, is it really nice? Or am I just trying to convince myself, right?
Yeah.
I started sending it to friends. They're like, yo, what the hell? Like, you need to drop this.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you sure? Or are you just saying that because you know me? Like,
Yeah.
you know? They're like, no.
You got to be
like,
careful with that.
Exactly. That's why now, like, I don't just show anyone what I make.
Yep.
Because I already know who would say yes just because they know me or they like me, and
Yeah.
who would say yes because, you know, they actually like it.
Yeah.
Right? So
Especially this far into it, you're 3 drops in now,
Mhm.
and people can kind of, if they believe in you enough to think, okay, this is going somewhere, I don't
Yeah.
want to get on Aaron's bad side.
Right.
And once again, it's on you to be like, who's close enough to give me the real spill?
Exactly.
So
Exactly. That's why, like, just always make sure you have the realest ones around you.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to this stuff, those who really care about you, they won't let you look bad on the outside.
Yeah.
So, you know, I only show like 1-2 friends, and then the rest is just family.
Yeah.
You know, obviously my parents, they're not really in tune with, like, you know, the fashion of these days, but
Yeah.
they know when something's good and when something's ugly.
Mhm.
Right. So, once I realized it was something different, I'm like, okay, let's give it a shot. I put it out there, and like I was overwhelmed by like the reactions. I was shocked, and I ended up restocking this, like, this is like 3rd, 4th time. I don't even know.
Yeah.
But after this, I'm gonna put this on hold. Like I was telling you off camera, like
Absolutely.
I feel like I will make this available to purchase later on for sure, but I need new drops with this being still available as I go. But that's
100%.
basically how I started. Yeah, and then now we're here.
That's awesome. I got a few questions based off all of that.
Mhm.
That's a great origin story. Another thing that I will want to say, Aaron and I met each other in elementary school, but we knew each other mostly through high school. This guy's storytelling in grade 10, 11 was unmatched. He had a reputation for having the best stories out of anyone we could possibly talk to on the bus. So we were always excited when we got to hear. Now I get a front row seat, one-on-one podcast, which is awesome. But you're talking about university, how you're in your 2nd year. Because once again, same thing with me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how often I like to admit this or talk about this on camera, but my grades at U of T in 1st year were impeccable.
Mm-hmm.
But once I kind of got through it, once I did the full 1st year experience, I realized, is this it? This is what university is.
Right.
It's like high school with a little bit more difficult, a little bit more difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
So my impression was that we were going to be learning not only learning new things, but learning them in a different way that would actually get us ready for the work world. But I realized this is just high school part 2. And in 2nd year, 3rd year, and we'll see what happens with 4th year, my grades are not what they were in 1st year because I've just lost faith in the system here.
Mm-hmm.
And for you, 2nd year, you decided to make that, you cut the ties. You're like, I'm not going to waste my time. You have the pressure coming from your parents saying, we don't know about this. It's unsure. And it's sometimes hard for you as someone who's like, I believe in what I can do, to hear your parents say, we don't think you should go for it. But that's really their job. They're trying to be protective. They're trying to, let their son not completely wipe out. They're not too concerned about necessarily you reaching the best of your potential, but they just don't want to see you homeless or whatever they think is going to happen if you don't graduate.
Facts.
So how did you deal mentally with that, with trying to convince your parents? What did it take for them to see what you had going?
It was really hard because me being the oldest one in the house, like, I knew I had to lead the way, you know, be a good example to my little brother. And even my brother was on my parents' side. He's like, yo, what are you doing? Like, you know, he was getting at me because he saw that they were upset and like he didn't like that.
Yeah.
But one thing about me, like when I have a vision and my foot's on the gas, all I need is your trust.
Yeah.
That's it. All I need is your trust. Everything else will fall into play.
Yeah.
And that's what I kept telling my parents. I'm like, listen, I'm going to make this move. And like, I just need you to trust me.
Yeah.
It was hard for them to still believe it, like, you know, go with the flow. But it got to a point where I was just doing what I had to do. Mm-hmm. And me living away from them, like I was not living like, okay, so while I was at Seneca, I was living on residence for like the first 2 years. Yep. And then we moved, me and my roommate at the time, we moved to an apartment like near the school. Because of the fees and stuff, it made no sense. We were basically paying rent in Toronto, so we just, you know, got a whole apartment, right? Now, because we were living alone, that pushed me more to do what I had to do. Because if I was under my parents' roof, it would have been a different ballgame. Who knows? So I probably would have got kicked out or something, right? But I felt like me being away gave me that extra push and said, you know what? You have the space, you have the mind, do it. You know, you have the people around you for it, go for it.
100%.
And so even though when they would come over and, you know, like talk about it, you know, we would have talks about, you know, what I would do next or what's coming up, what's the vision. Yeah. Even though they're hearing me out, I could tell when they're not really like getting it or not wanting to get it, you know? So it was really challenging, you know, because I don't like to see my mom unhappy. Yeah. You know, I'm a mama's boy. I won't lie, you know, and every time I see her like give me certain looks, it makes me feel some type of way. And it bothers me, you know? Yeah. So it was really hard mentally. But then later on, like what kept me going was my like people around me. I'm not going to give names because then I'll feel bad for whoever I end up forgetting. But shout out to you guys, though. But having the right people around me at the time, pushing me, making sure that I was there mentally, that just kept me going. And then once my parents really saw the results fall through, they really started to understand more what I was doing and how far it can really take me. So now they're really seeing the vision.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's awesome. It just takes you to kind of rack up wins to show them, just to kind of ease their nerves, which I think is important.
Facts.
About having the right people around you. This is what you said. You're like, I was not living with my parents, but I had the right people around me. And then also earlier when you were talking about showing people certain pieces to get their feedback, what criteria do you consider when you think of those people that are in your inner circle? What does it take? Not for someone to be like, to apply and be like, I meet Aaron's criteria, but just mentally, how do you process who you have close to you?
That's a good question. Well, I always like, when I meet someone new, like I scan out their behavior and how they move, right? How they react around certain things and the way they just carry themselves overall as a human being. And, you know, for people who are well-driven in what they're doing, usually like those who are around me are people who are, you know, very like-minded people. They have similar stuff going for themselves. Like I'm surrounded by a lot of brand owners, to be honest, and we're all on the same pace, same field. So like we all know what it's like to, you know, look for good opinions, wanting to get honesty and like, you know, a true like thought process on like what we're doing. Yeah. So as much as I want you to be real with me and what I'm making, I will tell you the truth about how I feel with your stuff, right? Yeah. So I realized that it got to a point, I was just surrounded by a lot of entrepreneurs and we're all in the same, even though it was like different stuff, it just somehow related overall. And like, once I know that like you are well driven and you know what you want, that's when I can really say, okay, like that just, it kind of opens up doors, you know, and I start to feel and understand more, you know, how the person is. And then that just, you know, basically like allows things like that to happen.
100%. And there's a trait within all types of entrepreneurs, which is risk taking and being okay with the possibility of having nothing, having less than you started with.
Whoa,
but it's the gamble.
Yeah.
You know, you're playing the game to try to win. That's why winning is so awesome, because you know there are a bunch of people who tried to do what you did and failed.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see that, how did you when did you realize you had that trait within you? Because for me, I only got this recently, because in school, once again, I was all about hitting the books, studying, doing as I'm told, following the rules. It only really happened when I finished my first year of university, where I'm like, if I continue on the trajectory of following the instructions, basically the path that leads you to success, mainstream success, I'm going to end up how everyone is. And the most important thing about value is that it's scarce. The most important thing about success, about people actually looking at someone, not, you know, your mainstream idea of he's got a good job, he makes this amount, you know, he's really working hard. I mean genuine success where you walk in a room and people are like, oh, this is the guy that has started Swave. This is the guy who's done this. It takes more than following the instructions. So once again, for me, it was at the end of first year. What happened, if anything, for you to think I need to start taking these chances?
I love your questions, bro, by the
Thank
way.
you. Thank you.
What happened?
Was there a moment, was it gradual?
Because I took a lot of, like, crazy risk, I won't lie. Like, when I say that, I mean, like, paying a whole sample before paying bills.
Yeah.
Right? I said this before in a video. For those who know, they know. But I'm being so real with that, because it's like, I was so dedicated. Like, I put my life into this, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I knew that this is it. Like,
Yeah.
I know I want this, and this is how it's gonna go. So, I think this was like, because I got to a point while I was, I think, my second year of at Seneca. Like, I got to a point where I was like, there's no second plan. Like, there's no plan B.
Yeah.
This is how I'm gonna go about it, and if it doesn't go through, then I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
you know, but
You need to roll a 6.
yeah.
And then people ask, what happens if you don't roll a 6? No, I have to roll a 6.
I have to roll a 6, bro.
Yeah.
That's just how it's gonna go. Like, if it doesn't go that way, then I don't know.
Yeah.
So, I might just end it. No, I'm just but yeah, no, it got to a point where, like, I was just so motivated to the point where no one could tell me otherwise. Like, no one could throw me off what I had planned, you know? Because I'm surrounded by, you know, a bunch of other family members who hear about the stuff I do and they're like, oh, you know, just go back to school. And I'm not saying going back to school is bad, but it's not for everybody, you know? And I'm pretty sure a lot of people can relate. For me personally, it got to a point where I was like, you know, I can't be doing this, you know? I do see myself eventually going back to school, maybe for something else outside of that field. But as for what I'm doing in this business, clothing brand type of stuff, is not it for me. So that's when, like, I took the step to, you know, create and do more. And I was just fully locked in. Like, no one could throw me off.
Yeah. That's huge. Another thing that I've heard in entrepreneurship discussions is that your beginning customer base, or like the people who will be your first purchasers, are family, friends, people that are close to you already. And with something like this, with something like a clothing brand, obviously you meet people in high school, you have friends, this kind of thing. I also find it interesting how Swave, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Swave's brand is very interconnected and linked to your brand, the brand of Aaron Ajani, of who you are as a person.
Right.
When people see Swave, they think of how you are. So obviously all the relationships that you've curated over your, I guess, high school years and then post-high school years have contributed to the success of Swave.
Right.
Now, does that ever worry you in the sense that you have connected who you are as a person with the success of your company, of your brand, of your clothing line? Because when you make a move, Swave makes a move. When you do something that changes your appearance, it changes the appearance of your brand. So let's say Tesla. When people think of Tesla, they think of Elon Musk.
Right.
Okay. When you think of BMW, I don't know who runs BMW. Nobody knows the founder, the CEO of BMW.
Facts.
So the CEO of BMW can go F off and get caught stealing, BMW won't get affected because nobody really cares about that guy.
Right.
But if Elon Musk does something crazy, then Tesla can kind of get affected. So I want to ask you, the cameras have overheated. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and then you can answer that question. So short break there. Sorry about that. I was just asking you about the link between your personal brand of who you are with Swave. Do you ever feel like it's a good thing, it's a bad thing? Would you wish it was any different? How do you process that?
Me personally, I love the way Swave looks right now because, in a way, I would say it's unique. It's, Suave's in his own wave, you know. If I were to make it relate to me as a person, I always try to be different. I don't like to be caught up in a crowd. And that's really the whole idea with Swave. Self-esteem with a vast elegance is what Swave stands for. So just being comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's the whole idea behind the brand. And I don't really get worried about, the two becoming one. But I do love when people don't know that it's me behind the brand. Right. I do love that. Yeah. I won't lie. Because I'm more of a low-key guy. As much as I may seem like I have followers, people don't know about me. Yeah. Right? So I feel like eventually, if the brand, well, God willing, when the brand blows up, my personal accounts are all going to be gone. Yeah. It'll just be the brand running at that point. Yeah. And I don't want people to even know who I am as a person. Unless, I would probably do those, shout out to Clint Cortez, but I'm not too sure if you're familiar with Cortez. It's a UK brand. His brand is so popular, right? To the point where a lot of people don't even know it's him behind the brand because, one, he doesn't follow himself on his brand page, which I recently started doing. I don't know if you guys peeped it, but and he saw these kids at a restaurant going out to eat, and he loved he was just happy that he saw kids wearing his jacket. Yeah. So what he did was he got his friend to record him walking up to the kids and saying, "Yo, your jacket's hard. I love your jacket. Where'd you get it from?" Acting like he doesn't know where it's from. Yeah. Whole time the kid doesn't even know that that's the owner right next to him. Mind you, he's super popular worldwide, right? And the kid is just not in tune with who this guy is, so he's just happy that someone loves what he's wearing, and he's just going on with the whole flow. And later on, after he got the footage, he's laughing about it, posting on his actual page. And then later on, the kid saw the video and he was so upset that he didn't realize it was him. So stuff like that I would do. That's just the type of person I am. I love trolling, but I like to I'm low key, so eventually I would branch off, but I don't mind when people make the two kind of relate in a way, because for those who do see it, I mean, it kind of shows, but I don't mind it at all.
That's good. Mm-hmm. And I understand what you say when you're low key. Is there not any part of you though that wants that recognition? Is there not any part of you that, like I said earlier, you want to walk into a room and people are like, "Oh, that's that guy"? Nah. You want to stay under the cover.
Stay under the cover.
Okay.
I swear, stay under. I keep saying this to my mom because I don't know why, but my mom keeps saying, "Oh, when the brand does well, hope you don't forget about me." You're my mother. How am I gonna forget about you? I mean, some people do, but that's not me. No. Right? And no, I don't want that attention. Even on my birthday, my friends always try to do the most to go big for my birthday, because they know that I don't really celebrate my birthday like that. The only times I really did was probably grade 5 or grade 6 was we had a pool party at some recreation center. Yeah. And shout out to my mom, she hosted that. And then after that, probably let's say about 2 years ago, my homie PJ, shout out to him, he pushed me to have a whole Airbnb, and we had people come over for that. So other than that, I like just staying home, waking up, knowing I woke up that morning, and I'm thankful for that. Yep. And having family around me, wishing me happy birthday, and I go to work. Yes, I am the type to go to work on my birthday. Yep. But that's just how I am. I
respect it.
So a lot of people, they could really understand that I'm not really the type to, seek for that attention when walking into a room. Because for me, I'm doing this for the brand to flourish well and to expand worldwide. Yep. I'm doing this for the community, not for me to be, Mr. Popular and just be known for, who I am as a person. No. This is just for, once my, kids are here, it's for them to run, and then it just can keep going. Yeah. So as for me, nah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, two things. I'm wondering about the design process. You were telling me earlier about how you got home, you started working, started designing, and eventually this piece came about. What is Swave adding or bringing into the fashion world? This is a question I was preparing yesterday. I was talking to my girlfriend. She loves fashion. She's big into fashion. I don't know much about fashion, so I was like, what kind of questions would fashion viewers be interested in knowing? And she's always saying how she sees brands that, like you said, they're just basic, bringing in the same stuff with a different logo. You are doing, I think, I've never seen any piece like this before. I haven't, once again, I'm not into the fashion world that much, but from what I understand, this is different, like you were explaining before.
Right.
But maybe you can explain a little bit more, with a little bit more depth, what Swave is adding to the fashion world.
Just uniqueness, I would say, you know, because there's just like, there's a 3% rule. Shout out to Virgil Abloh, but there's just 3% rule where you can take something that's known, for example, like let's say a Roots tracksuit. You can take a Roots tracksuit design and then just change it by 3%. Add something to it. Add your own sauce to it, and that will literally change the whole look of the whole tracksuit. Yeah, you know. For example, there's people who have, this is like a tapestry, whatever you want to call it. This material is very known. It's popular. You know, many people made different designs. I have a friend, his name is Shem. His brand is Shoam. And he made a similar material, but a whole different design, for example, right? He made a Kobe piece, and it's just as hard as, you know, this one right here. And it's like, as long as you have your own sauce to it, you can take one thing, spice it up by just a little bit, and the whole thing changes. And now you have a bunch of new buyers who are into it. So, I'd say that's it.
The actual input of designing, the process of that, is it a pen and paper? Are you just thinking it up? What do you do?
So one thing I do is, a lot goes on in my mind, right? So as I'm like scrolling through social media, I always take notes, and then it goes from notes to my iPad. Yeah. My iPad is where everything started. You know, I make my designs on the iPad. I did get into photoshopping, like on my computer, but I do draw as well, like on paper, to bring the vision in mind a lot better. And then I'll translate that to the iPad, because right now I'm just using what I have. But eventually I want to take it to like a whole, like, you know, a whole setup with like computers and stuff. But I decided, let me just stick with the iPad for now.
100%.
And, you know, grow as I keep going. But that's basically what it is. A lot goes on in my mind, and I just take note of everything. I even have friends that, shout out Chico, I have friends that always, you know, send me stuff for inspo, or give me ideas as to how I can switch things around, because they know I love going crazy with things. So, you know, just things that I try to aim for, things that are not seen in Toronto specifically. But in the States, a lot of trends are, you know, going crazy over there, and they're not even known here yet, for example, right? So you kind of want to do that, but at the same time, you add your own twist to it, and you just start a whole way from there.
Yeah. That's sweet. You had an event, just recently enough, in Montreal. Fashion event in Montreal. The Toronto fashion scene isn't, I don't think, at the same level as other places.
No.
What's been your experience building a brand in Toronto?
What I realized, like, when going on that trip, because I go to Montreal a lot, right? For those who don't know, I'm French. So that trip alone was one of the first trips where I went as a group with like friends. And shout out to Slim. She's the one who invited me to that event, the fashion show event. It was a Mad Festival event. That's what it's called. And I had to get a bunch of models to, you know, go out there and wear my clothes and run the whole runway, right? And going through that first runway show, being in Montreal, not even in my own city, that really caught my attention, because I realized that my brand is more known over there than here.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like literally 2 weeks ago, I got a text from my friend. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. A text from my friend Anna. She sent me a photo of a guy that she ran into And the guy that she ran into was actually a friend of mine.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
That I went to school with like way back. But she took a photo of this guy and she's like, why am I running, like I'm rushing for school or whatever, and I run into this guy wearing your stuff, like what's going on here? And then a week after, that same guy sends me another message about how other people are talking about what he's wearing, because he's wearing the exact same thing I'm wearing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And he said that while he was walking, you know, on his way to school on campus, you know, people were like, oh, Swave, that's what I'm like, what the hell? So
That's
the fact
wild.
that like over there it's more known is
Yeah.
crazy to me. And that's just after one fashion show, by the way.
That's huge.
Right? But Toronto, I'm not saying it doesn't happen here, because it does happen here. I just feel like it's more low key.
Right.
Like you need to, you know, you need to be friends with someone that either knows about those stuff or just have connections, because they be having like a bunch of like underground, you know, fashion shows and stuff like that. But I don't really be in tune because I don't hear about it often.
Right.
And when I do, it's not really jumping like how it is in Montreal. So that's why I haven't been there or been involved. But yeah, I just realized that the love over there is different, man. It's crazy. Like it's so genuine. And yeah, shout out to them. They really did their thing when they invited me out there.
That's awesome. That's sweet. So when that happens, does part of you think I should start growing this brand in Montreal? I should move from being Toronto based to maybe Montreal based? Or is it there's potential here for me to grow? I'm already doing well in Montreal and I'm not even there. Let me try to grind away and find an answer to this Toronto fashion world that this could really work in.
Honestly, nah. Because, you know, me being born and raised in Toronto and knowing how hard it is to, you know, have things blowing up here. Like, for example, you have, how many artists do we have from here? Like Drake and like, you know, all these other guys. But there's so many brands that are nice as hell out here. Like, I'm not even going to name the brands off the top of my head because I'm going to leave some out and then they're going to feel some type of way. But those who know, they know. Like, I message you guys, you know, from time to time. Or you see me wearing your clothes. Like, there's so many nice brands out here. And, like, there's so much potential in the city. Yeah. The fashion scene is very strong. Like, even today, Black Friday, like, everyone's going crazy. You know, shout out to you guys. But it doesn't make me feel like I should step away from the city and, you know, grow it elsewhere. As much as the love is growing out there, I do appreciate that, but I still want to like get the job done here as much as I can, though. You know, because I don't want to let that become like a, you know, distraction or pull me away and then make me move over there and just start a whole thing out there. I feel like where I started is where I should, you know, get going, and then wherever God takes me after that, that's where I go.
Absolutely. Yeah. Focus is how many times you can say no to good opportunities. Fantastic quote I've heard. And when people think of focus, like, basically push distractions away from you, you know, video games, drugs, partying every weekend, this kind of thing. If you really want to be focused, you have to get rid of that stuff, but you also need to get rid of things that are very, very good opportunities. The idea of maybe growing a brand in Montreal sounds fantastic, but focus is being able to say, I am starting in Toronto. I've decided to start in Toronto. I see the potential in Toronto. I'm not going to jump at the first, you know, glamorous chance, you know, the glittery opportunity of growing it in this other city, because I said I was going to start here and I was going to grow here, which is very important. Now, I did want to ask about fashion as an art. Fashion, because I see fashion as art. Do you see fashion as art?
Yeah, same way. I see it the same way,
Now, is there a point where fashion, brands especially, transition from focusing on the art to focusing more on the business and the bottom line? Because that's something that you do need to kind of worry about, where you're sacrificing the actual look and the style for thinking, let's rake in as much as we can. Do you ever think about that? Do you ever, because maybe, you know, my idea would be maybe a brand rushing a piece or rushing a drop to get something out there, to get some money in the next drop and that kind of thing. Yeah. Does that ever go through your mind of trying not to maybe push it too fast, or other brands that are pushing it too fast and it's not working out?
Yeah, no, because in the beginning, I had a very bad habit of like rushing myself, you know, like before I even put this out, I was already focused on my next drop after that. Right. And while this was out, I was like, okay, let me chill, take things slow. I had even friends telling me like, yo, like take your time,
Yeah.
you know, because I was way too ahead of myself. And, you know, you can't rush greatness. You can't. You have to be patient, and, you know, your time will come. Just because you see one brand, you know, consistently dropping, don't let that make you feel like you're behind. You know what I mean? So in the end, everyone's journey is different. Even if you ended up starting your brand, like, you know, before someone or after someone, and they end up blowing up way before you, and it's like you didn't expect that, don't get mad.
Yeah.
Because it's just not your time. You know, it's going to happen, though, just differently. So what I always tell people, your life is like a book, right? And in your book, there's so many different chapters going on.
Yeah.
When something goes wrong and your design doesn't go out the way, it doesn't turn out the way you wanted it to be, just look at it as a part of your journey. Yeah. Because there was a time where after my first beanie drop, that beanie drop wasn't even supposed to happen. It was supposed to be a completely different thing. And things went left for me at that time. So it was a little time period where I didn't drop for like a couple months. And people were even asking me like, oh, what's next? What's next? What's next? And I'm like, I'll let you know soon. You know, I can't really give, like, I'm not going to give you the details off rip, but, you know, just knowing that you really have to take your time. Because one thing I need to make sure, me personally, like, when I have a vision in mind, it needs to come out the exact same way I see it in my head. Yeah. If it doesn't, I'm not putting it out.
You're going to keep working until it does.
I'm going to keep working, exactly. Yeah. Or I'm just going to switch the whole thing up. Yeah. Even the jorts, I gave a sneak peek of the jorts. Appreciate you. Yeah. That one was personal, I won't lie. And when I say personal, I mean like those jorts, there's a whole story behind that. You know, I heard through a couple people that all I know how to make is stuff like this, you know, shit like this, taper series and stuff. Yep. So then that, you know, got to me, you know. I'm not saying, you know, things like that get to me easily, but at that time I was a little hot-headed. And like I already had things happening, you know, in my own life, so it pissed me off. So then it had me going, got me to work quick, and I had friends watching me design that. Literally, I did not sleep. I went all in on that. Yeah. And then once I got the sample in person, I was like, yo, this is actually crazy. I went from things like this to denim. You know? Yeah. And me posting that on my main page and not the brand page was a statement. I was just showing a few people out there that like I can really be in this whole shit. Sorry for my language. Like I could be in this. Like, you know, I'm in this for the long run. I'm not doing this just for the money. Yeah. I'm doing this for a lifestyle, for, you know, a long run. Yeah. So yeah, that one was personal, and I guess now people take me more serious as a as awesome. A brand. Yeah.
No, that's huge. That's huge, because now a piece like that, are you making the clothes yourself, or are you just designing them and someone else is making them?
I'm just designing them. So basically, I have a manufacturer in China.
Yeah.
And we've been locked in for a long time. Yeah. Right. There's been a few that I spoke to from Pakistan, but unfortunately, me and Pakistan, we don't connect. We fell out. So I don't work with them anymore. Yeah. I tried, but it just didn't go through. You know, God said no, so I was like, okay, let me just explore other options. But everything that you've seen me make or release, all China. Yeah. And everything that I make, such as a tapestry jacket, the beanies, everything, it's a different manufacturer for each piece I make.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, but all China.
Why is it different?
Well, for example, the tapestry manufacturer, they only do these type of things, like whether it's a jacket, a hoodie, even bags, all in the same material.
Got it.
Right. But then my beanie manufacturer, they only do beanies and like maybe ski mask or, you know, just headwear stuff. Not too much of like clothing.
Got it.
Some manufacturers do everything, but the ones that I found that were good were only good in like specific things. So all my stuff are through China, and I only just do my designs, and then I send it to them, and then they get to work. Right. And then, they send it back to me. I see if I like it. Once I confirm it, that's when we give it a go, and I give them a green light, and then that's how we get things rolling. But I do want to like start learning how to sew and take things to the next level. I'm already started like learning at home. My mom's been teaching me, but I kind of want to just like, you know, learn how to do certain things on my own too, and make like, you know, customs. Start slowly, make things for people I love and stuff like that, and then
100%.
Eventually, once I know I can really do it, I'll just expand with it. But 100%. As of right now though, I just make the designs myself and then have it sent to the manufacturers, and then they do the rest.
Yeah. Now, when you say that, I'm curious about the relationships you have with these manufacturers. You say like you in Pakistan fell through, it didn't really work for you. How are you connecting with these people? Like what's the process of that? How did you even find them?
So all brand owners, they use Alibaba.
Okay.
To find these manufacturers.
Yeah.
So you would just search up what you're trying to make, for example, and it's going to give you like a list of manufacturers that make those type of things, right? Now, my problem with Pakistan, right?
Yeah.
I'm not racist.
Nope.
But I realize that they love to act like they know how to do everything.
Okay.
That's their problem. And brand owners that been through what I'm about to say, they know. But they will, like, for example, the beanie that I dropped at first, it was a silk mohair beanie. So the inside was silk material, good for your hair and stuff like that. They told me they knew, how to add the silk inside and the mohair, soft touch on the front. I'm like, okay, bet. But one thing I always do though with manufacturers, I'm like, show me photos of your work. I want to make sure that you know what I'm talking about, just so we can have things going.
That's the least you could ask.
That's the least.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Here's the worst part though. They sent me photos, right? Okay, it's the same thing. Like, same material. Like, you're showing me you've done it before, right? But when I'm the one reaching out to you, it's a problem now. You don't know how to make these shits. So now I'm sending my designs, and they return it back, right? I'm like, what the is this shit, right? But before that, I'm like, send me a photo first before you send it over.
Yeah.
They want to make excuses. Oh, I'm at a wedding. I can't do this. Bro, I didn't even ask you about your wedding. I didn't even know about your wedding to begin with. Now, all of a sudden,
you didn't need to know about the wedding.
You know what I mean? So, just excuses, and then they ship it over. Now, I'm seeing it in person. I'm pissed.
Yeah.
Right? There's even times where, because what I do with my, with these things, like samples and stuff, I always split payment. I don't pay in full.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if you pay the full thing and they up, this like, you just paid and you wasted your money. Like, what are you going to do now, right?
100%.
So, yeah, it got to a point where they were robbing me, bro. Like, they were basically scamming me. Because it wasn't just one person. Like,
No,
it was
100%.
different manufacturers
100%,
from there.
100%.
And that's why I was ghost for a long time on social media, like on the brand page. So I wasn't dropping for a long time because they were running my pockets.
That's a hilarious story.
So when I realized, like, financially how much they took away, I'm like, yo, let me just take a break right now and like recover from this damage, because it's not looking good right now. But me being the crazy person that I am, I still kept going. People who were in my situation, I promise you, Carter, they would have went MIA for like 5 months.
Absolutely
5 months. But me being me, I'm like, the brand has to keep running. Like, I have to find my way. So I still kept doing it. The restock of this has been helping me recover though, but still, like, all of that made me realize, okay, maybe Pakistan could work for other people. And I respect it, but for me, AJ Swave, it won't connect. I don't know why. I don't know why. Even till this day, like, I still receive DMs from them every single day from different like manufacturers. I just leave them unopened at this point. But China is the only one I can really, like, they get me. They really understand me and they hear me out.
That's good.
They even try to, like, I feel like some of them be trying to hit on me sometimes.
Okay.
But it's actually crazy.
Shout out to China. I think that the Indian viewers will love that story, because India and Pakistan have the biggest beef, and VoV podcast, the number 3 country for viewership is India.
Wow.
So they'll love that one. Yeah.
Hey, shout out to you guys.
But that's funny. You were talking about how you heard these rumblings of people saying all AJ can design is this. He doesn't know how to do anything else. That kind of thing. Once again, same thing. It's funny how, like you said, with the manufacturing issue, a lot of people go MIA for 5 months if something like that happened to them. Hate is also something that a lot of people wouldn't be able to deal with.
Facts.
They see the success. Because obviously you're not going to post your haters. That's giving them attention that they don't deserve. But they see the success, and they see, the upside, the white from the yin and yang. They don't see the other end of things. But there's plenty of things, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's people talking bad about you, that that test you. They kind of test your limits. How much do you really want this? How much do you really want a brand? Are you willing to have people talk shit about you all the time for it? So it's impressive. But with that kind of thing, you say you don't let it get to you. For me with this podcast, maybe I'll just share a personal example and then I'll ask you about your stuff. When I see people comment hate on clips or on episodes, happens from time to time. I think that the problem, especially for men, when men get hate, is that in real life, we've been hardwired over however many thousands of years to act like this. When someone challenges you face to face, the idea is that they're willing to fight for it. Yeah. If I'm going to talk shit to you to your face, that means that at least I know it could get violent eventually. The problem with the internet here is that people have the protection of a screen and maybe even no profile picture and a username that nobody can identify. It gives people this false sense of confidence and arrogance that when you are the recipient of it, obviously it's one thing to be the hater, it's another thing to receive the hate. When I receive the hate, there's an instinct in me that says, someone's talking shit, I'm ready to fight, but I'm trying to fight and I don't know where the person is. Who even is this guy? Yeah. I have no idea. Yeah. So when you see this kind of thing, how have you grown? I want to know how you first reacted to it when you first heard the negative stuff and then how you deal with it now. I'm sure you have a different approach when you kind of hear this stuff.
Way different. Like, you know, people say all the time, like, it's like they use it as an energy boost, you know, it helps them going. But, you know, I actually love the fact that it happened, because if it never happened, that photo that I dropped, it would have never happened, right? So before, it's like, one thing about me, I always feel like no matter how big I end up being, I'll still reply back to certain comments, right? Like, I'm still the type, like, I'll reply to whoever. Yeah. But of course, there's some that I'll just let them talk to talk. You know, some people are really bored and they have nothing to do.
Exactly.
But at the same time, people do things because they want your reaction.
Right.
So it's like, you need to watch how you approach certain things. But in terms of like clothing in this field, in the beginning, like, it got to me in a way where it's like, damn, like, you actually thought that. Like, that's crazy. Like, you know, what made you think that?
Yeah.
So now my job is like, okay, let me lock in and just prove you wrong. Because one thing I love doing is showing you that you're wrong.
Yeah.
Now you're going to feel dumb as hell for saying whatever you said.
Exactly.
Right? So now it's way different in the sense where if I see it, like, someone saying something, I'll probably just laugh or, like, you know, just not take it serious. Because the way I'm seeing it, it's like, okay, this person really sat in their room. Yeah. Probably lonely as hell in the bedroom, just under bed. You know, toes out, just saying a bunch of nonsense. Yeah. And, you know, just praying for me to, you know, reply back to it.
Right.
But whole time, I'm like surrounded by other people and I'm seeing it, not giving a damn about what's going on.
Yep.
And just moving forward and going about my day. So I just really don't care. Yeah. Like, you know, I just don't be caring for these type of things. Like, if it's not serious, if it's not like something really deep, then I'm just gonna look at it as a joke. Yeah. And in the end, because I have a plan. Like, I already know what I'm going to be doing going forward. Yeah. So it's like, if I see someone say something and it relates to one of the points that I have planned, it's like, all right, just wait. Yeah. You'll see. Like, my response is coming. Just bear with me.
100%. Yeah. And the way I always like to think about it is that I compare myself. I'm like, would I rather be the guy lying on his bed, toes out, commenting hate on this post? Or would I rather be Aaron Ajani, Swave founder, personal brand, clothing brand, this kind of thing? Obviously, it's an easy pick. So that's huge. What else was I going to say about the hate? There was what was my example? It's really not coming to me. But oh well, that's that. That's good. That's awesome. So growing the brand, something that I was interested in is any other interests that you might have beyond fashion, and do they play a role? Sorry, it came to me what I was going to say.
Yeah. So it's okay.
The example was...
I was even going to say, like, you know, once it comes, just say it.
Yeah, no, I do have it. Okay. Hate always comes from below, but when it comes from above, it's an incredible opportunity.
Yeah.
So if you have someone dissing on your brand who, let's say, isn't a nobody, let's say is someone, oh, I need to take this hate comment seriously, it's a huge opportunity. Some guy with 15,000 followers is dissing on my brand. That's awesome. Let's try to get this going so that maybe we can steal some of his customers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyways, that's just how I like to think about it.
That's a fact.
100%. Other interests that you have beyond fashion, when you're not designing, when you're not hanging out with your family, when you're not chilling with your boys, what are you doing?
Usually I just be with my brother, like, you know, spending time with him. He's about to graduate high school, and like me living away from home, I feel like, you know, there's a lot of time that I missed out on when it comes to like spending time with him, you know. Literally when I moved out, the man was like below my shoulder.
Yeah.
Why is he taller than me now?
Yeah.
Mind you, he's like what, 17?
Yeah.
Right? And it's like I'm 6 foot and he's past me. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But spending time with him, I take naps a lot. I sleep a lot. That's one thing about me. But usually if it's not any of those, I just be playing sports. You know, I still be playing soccer here and there. And that's really what I do, like, you know, just to keep myself in good shape.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like that's in my blood. I can't let that go. But
that's huge.
Yeah, those are like the main things I would say.
Staying in shape with fashion, that's a super interesting thing. And maybe we won't talk about it too long, but I think that's a huge, like the way you look, this is what fashion is. You're trying to present yourself in a certain way. I think being in shape makes clothes look better. Would you say that's true in some cases?
I agree. Because it's like, as much as you're looking, like taking care of yourself and making sure that you're good and you're in good shape and all, like you want to make sure that your brand is looking nice, presentable, professional, and, you know, appropriate for the audience you're selling to.
Yeah.
Right. So yes, I do see a connection for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. Now, we talked about relationships you had in the space, friends that kind of helped you grow. How has networking been since you've gotten into this new area of business?
So well.
Yeah.
There's so many, like, 2024 has been crazy in the sense where, because before this brand stuff, like, yes, I would post here and there on social media, but I wasn't really going out linking up with people on the internet.
Yeah.
Right. So me being in a creative field, it just brings me out the box.
Yeah.
In the sense where it's good to make connections and meet new people, talk about similar things that I do. And like, for example, the Montreal thing, like the whole fashion stuff, like, so many people who are even tied to like the fashion show in Paris, like they were there talking to me about what my stuff. And I'm like, yo, what do you mean? Like, you like my stuff? That's crazy. Yeah. But I realized how important it was, like, while I was doing all of this stuff, it's really about having the right people around you and being connected to the right people. Because someone that has so many followers and no motion, like they're just like by themselves running the show, it's so different than starting a whole brand and having every right person you need when it comes to, like, let's say designing, promotion, social media, all of that stuff. Right. Yeah. So I realized it's very important. Like you can't go wrong. What
would you recommend, I guess, for someone who has no, I guess, ability? I don't know if it's ability, but I think a lot of the stuff when I hear about networking is very gimmicky. It's like, be charismatic, approach them this way, blah, blah, blah. I think the fundamental reality of networking is that the person that you want to meet has to have a reason to want to meet you. Yeah. Why would people want to talk to you? If you don't have anything to give them or to provide to them, they're not going to, like, obviously, I wouldn't want to speak to some random dude who's just trying to network. I want to speak to someone who's got stuff going for them, who's winning. Everyone wants to speak to a winner. You know what I mean?
I was about to say that, yeah.
So I think for people with networking, you have to give people a reason to want to talk to you. Right. For you, is that kind of how it's been? It's like, I have this brand. I now can tell people want to talk to me because I have this brand. And it's not a bad thing. It's that I'm just doing something with my life and people are seeing that.
Yeah, because like, I forget this lady's name, but she's from France and she was at the fashion show event. She approached me and she was talking about the whole fashion week, in Paris and stuff like that.
and how like it would be nice for me to be there and actually see how those things play out and see how it happens, because I've never been there before.
Yeah.
But once, like, you see, when she was talking to me, right, she's asking me about my brand, you know, because she saw this first before she got to speak to me. So when she realized that I was the one behind this, she starts, you know, breaking the ice. And we had a very long conversation. And once she realized that I really had a vision and, you know, I had a plan and I had a goal in mind, she really like was pushing it and supporting it so much. And it's like, once people know that you have something going well for yourself and they see the potential in your work, I feel like that's where it really takes off. Like, it could really go far from there. Just putting your all in your stuff and just, you know, going in, like making sure that your things are done the right way, and you're trying to like show the person, like, obviously you have to be a good person too. That plays a role in, like, you know, whatever you create, because there's a lot of brand owners who they have good clothing, but as a person, they're known for like terrible things. Yeah. Right? Like, there's brand owners who get exposed for so many stuff out here.
Yeah.
Scamming, all that stuff. So
we were talking about that personal brand being connected to the clothes.
Exactly. So that can affect you so much. Yeah. So once they see that, you know, you're actually a caring person, you're genuine, you're real with everything you have like going in your life. Yeah. It plays a positive, you know, effect in your life. So I feel like once she really like realized that when speaking to me, that's when, like, you know, we had to lock in, and then from there we just kept in contact. But yeah, it's very important to not only be good in what you do in the business field, but be a good person. Yeah. You know, not even just to these creative, you know, these people you want to work with, but to the community, to those customers that want to buy from you. Yeah. You know, customers are not going to buy your stuff if they see that you're a shitty person. You know 100%. What I mean? They're not going to support that image. So just 100%. Make sure that you leave a good look for yourself.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And even the guys that you wouldn't think would ever buy from you, it's funny how they could literally just tell someone, I met this brand owner, he was so awesome. They could be dirt poor. You could be talking to a homeless guy, but the homeless guy could be friends with a guy who isn't homeless, and they talk and they're into the fashion. It's crazy how that works. For me, because I've never really been the most empathetic person. So not to say that I don't consider myself mean or bad or anything like that, but I never truly understood the importance of actually going out of your way to be kind and genuine and, like you said, caring, until maybe about second year university, because that's when I really started to think about faith more. So I want to know from you, does faith play a role in how you work and how you develop this brand, how you grow this brand?
Yeah, no, it does. It does play a huge role for sure. I feel like that's definitely one of the most important things when it comes to, like, you know, the connection between the two. Yeah, no, faith is important.
100%.
Yeah, having faith for sure. Because without that, like, I don't see how it could go well. Yeah. It just doesn't make sense in my head.
Yeah, and like you've said throughout this episode, you'll say if it can grow to a certain point, but you add God willing, you know, it's at the end of the day, it's in His hands before anyone else's. You do as much as you can to increase those chances, but like you said, you're explaining how life is like a book, and eventually you flip the page and here's the next chapter. I think of it very much the same way. I like to think of things more. It's like a book, a movie is the same thing.
I'm telling you, that's how I look at life now. Whenever something goes wrong, bro, like, even when I send a design or anything, like, even outside of that, like, when something goes wrong, like, in my actual life, like, I don't even get mad anymore. I don't get mad for real, period. Yeah. Because it's like, what's the point? You're going to be happy tomorrow about some next anyway. So, you know, why be mad about what happened yesterday? That was yesterday. Leave it in the past, you know? Just move forward.
Literally. I was a perfect example. I was going out a couple days ago with my girlfriend. We were going to a ballet. She wanted to bring me to a ballet because she danced ballet for a very long time. Yeah. And she's like, I want to take you to a ballet. I'm like, all right, let's go to a ballet. But I forgot my watch. Oh. And we were walking. We were like maybe 5 minutes away from this building. And I was like, shit, I forgot my watch. I was like expression, like very big with my expression. I was like, I forgot my watch. And then like literally less than 4 seconds after that, I'm like, all right, it's fine, let's go. And she's like, what was that? Did you have Tourette's or something? What just happened? I was like, no. Yeah. I mean, I just realized, like, obviously the moment I realized, I got frustrated, but I realized, okay, it's gone. It's in the past.
Yeah, just
Let's go.
keep going.
Let's enjoy our night.
You're already outside. You might as well just keep going. Like
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
because you're with her anyways, so you're gonna enjoy yourself anyways.
100%.
You may even forget that you don't even have your watch while you're with her and you're outside. You know what I mean? So I feel like there's no need to be upset.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like life. Like let's say you're 22.
Yes.
You're 22 years old. I'm 21 years old.
Mm.
We know the first 21 years or 22 years for you of our books.
Yeah.
Right. Our story right now. We don't know how long it's going to be. That's the interesting thing. But let's just say, on average, 80 years. Okay, average. That's 60 years of our life. There's empty pages. We don't know what's going to be written in it, but every day we kind of discover more and more. So it's always this conversation about, is it free will? Is it fate? I believe in both to a certain extent, because it's fate. Everything that's happened up until this point, I believe, was fate, but everything that's going to happen is going to have to be guided by free will. That's how I kind of see it, which is a bit backwards, but helps me kind of, I guess, move through the world and work as hard as I can to, turn my vision into a reality.
Facts.
Which is the entrepreneurship spirit, which is what you're doing. You have an idea. You can see it. That's the stress of being an entrepreneur, of starting a brand, of trying to convince your parents this could be a real thing, is that the entrepreneur is cursed with it's a curse, but it's good and bad in a way, because you can see something that isn't there yet. And you bring it into reality, and everyone's like, "Oh, this you knew that this was coming before it was even a thing." We can see it obviously because they didn't have the idea. They are not necessarily thinking entrepreneur. They're not thinking in an entrepreneur way like you are, which is it's that balance of like you said, just trust me and I'll be able to go for it.
Yeah.
So it's it's awesome. This has been a great conversation.
For sure.
I appreciate your time here. Do you have any final thoughts, anything you want to share with the audience? Obviously plug your stuff.
Yeah, I mean, for those who want to cop, you can. Website is up. I have this on restock available right now. Swave.close, the Instagram page. Website is suavestore.com. I'm also selling beanies. If you guys want beanies, that's available as well. And if I had to leave a message out there for anyone, if you want to get into the creative field, business in general, don't be afraid to take that step. Just do it. No matter what anybody tells you, just do it. If you have a dream, if you have a goal in mind, chase it. And just never let anyone tell you that you can't do something. But just know that when you get into this field, be prepared to fail. It's not sweet. Not many people will tell you this, but you have to be ready to fail, because in order for things to flourish, you need to have ups and downs that happen in order for you to get to where you need to be. Again, like I mentioned earlier, your life is a book, right? So look at your life as, different chapters going on in your book, and everything happens for a reason. Don't get mad. Don't get upset. I have a lot of first-time designer friends that are trying to do, even my own brother, he's trying to make, the same type of stuff I'm doing. And if you make a design and you're upset and you start to think that, maybe it's not for me, I don't want to design anymore, this is hard, that should be a reason to keep going. Because if you really know that you like that type of stuff, what you're doing, the designing process and all, keep going. Because you're going to run into someone that has ties and connections to something else that relates to what you're doing, and that could just motivate you and bring you so far in life. So I feel like, whatever you want to do, even if it's not clothes, if it's nails, hair, anything, just chase that, start your own business, work for yourself, and help your family. That's all I can really say.
Thank you for doing this. Appreciate you.
For sure.
This is an awesome episode. I think people are going to love this. Everything you need to know is in the description, suavestore.com. The Instagram account will be tagged. Last thing I want to do, rapid fire. You've had 3 drops up until this point.
Yeah.
You know the drops probably better than anyone. You worked with them intimately. I want to go through 1, 2, 3. If you could say one word that would describe each drop, what would it be? First drop, there was 3 pieces, right?
Yeah.
What are you going to say? One word for the first drop.
Unique.
Second drop was the beanies, the black and pink.
Yeah.
One word.
Silk beanies. Different.
And the third one, which is out now. If you're watching this, it is out now. Hopefully, there's still pieces available by Sunday. This is going to be out Sunday.
This should be.
Hopefully.
Now, there's this, but then the new beanies, I would say, upgrade. That's the word I would use, because that's like, you know, the new version of the older beanies. I just didn't add the silk on the inside, but yeah, those are the 3 I would say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There you go.
I appreciate you though. Love, bro. Thank you so much for having me.
100%. Thank you for coming and doing this. Everybody, that is Aaron Ajani. Don't follow the crowd. SuaveStore.com. You can check out all of his stuff there. And we will see you next Sunday. You can follow us on Instagram at Voices of Vic. Peace out.